nationality?
My nationality is Thai.
How many brothers do you have?
I don't have any brother.
Where do you live?
I live in Mesa.
What is your nickname?
My nickname is Joy.
Where is your classroom?
My classroom is
What grade are you in?
I am in grade 6, grade 4.
Very good. What is the name of your school?
My school name is Patara Vitaya School.
Do you love your mother and father?
Yes, I do.
When is your birthday?
My birthday is 27
Who is your school director?
My school director is Sophia Mahaibin Lakshmi Mari.
How many buildings are there in your school?
There are 10 buildings in my school.
What is your favorite subject?
My favorite subject is science.
Very good. Who are your homeroom teachers?
My homeroom teacher is Mr. Kana and Mr. Don.
What would you like to be in the future?
I would like to be a doctor.
What is your mobile number?
My mobile number is 0968.
How much money do you have now? Zero already? Not yet finished the school. How old are you?
I am 11 years old.
How are you today?
I am fine, thank you. How about you?
Nervous. How many sisters do you have?
I don't have sisters.
How many people are there in your family?
There are 4 people in my family.
Who are they?
They are mother,
And what do you do?
I am student.
Do you have any boyfriend or girlfriend?
I don't have any boyfriend or girlfriend.
What is your hobby?
My hobby is eating.
Huh? Eat family? What? What? Help with the family. What religion are you? Buddhist. What does your father do?
My father is
And what is your name?
My name is Rahman.
Okay. What did we learn last time? Just last week. Yes. What did we learn last week? One sticker for the one who can answer. Environment of. You didn't raise your hand. No sticker. Too late. So what did we learn last time? Environment of animals. What are the words that we talk about? 3 words, 3 main words. Population and community and population already. Habitat. What is population? A group of animal or living things.
No. So in green forest, in a tropical forest, what kind of living thing do we find? Monkey, snake, tiger, crocodile, mouse. How about in savannah? Lion, hyena, giraffe. How about on land and in water? Do we find the same animals and living things? No. What animals do we find on land? Dogs, elephant, tiger. How about in water? Fish, dolphin. Okay. And how do we know that water is good enough for living things? There are three things. The first one. The first one. pH level of water. How do we find the pH level of water? Use universal indicator paper. What are the perfect range for water that is good for living things? 6.5 to 8.5. What is the color of the paper? Green. If it is red or blue, is it good for living things? No. And the second one, we know the pH level. Temperature of water. If the water is too hot or too cold, do you think living things can live? No. So what is the tool that we use to measure the temperature of the water? Thermometer. And what are the units can we use? Celsius, Fahrenheit, and Kelvin. The last one, number 3. We know pH level, water temperature, and water clarity, right? If the water is not clear, is it good for living things? No. And so how can we measure the clearness of the water? White rock with a probe. And how about the new fashioned one? How do you call it? Sekidis. What are the color of the sekidis? White and white. Okay. Open your book. Page 75. Okay. What is the topic for today? Interdependence among living things. Okay. Read number 4 together. 1, 2, 3.
Smaller insects eat green plants, and bigger animals eat smaller animals, and so on. We call this feeding relationship in the ecosystem as a food chain.
Circle the word food chain. Food chain. The main word for today. And number 5. 1, 2, 3. A food web is network
Of many food chains, the food web is more complex than the food chain.
Circle the word food web. eaten by the bigger one. We call this feeding relationship as food chain. So how many lines do we see? Line. One line, one straight line we call food chain. Do you know a chain? This is a chain. So it's a string. So one line for feeding relationship we call food chain. How about food web? A food web is a network of many food chains. So many food chains can make a food web. Many food chains can make a food web. So it is more complex. What is complex? So one animal can be eaten by more than one animal. Interdependence among living things. I will focus on more about food chain and food web later. When living things live together, they have interdependence or relationship between each other. Some relationships are good, but some are not useful for the animal itself. For example, a deer and a fox. Do you think they have healthy relationship? No. What are they, friends or enemies? Enemies. How about a deer and a rabbit? They are friends. Okay. So there are many types of relationship. This interdependence on the living relationship when living thing eats another living thing and so on and so forth. It means that when one animal eats another animal, but it doesn't stop there. There will always be another animal that can defeat another animal. But we as humans, we are on the top of food chain, of food web, of everything, because we have ability to hunt. We can kill everything for our food, right? Even eagle. What is that? What is the top one here in this picture? Bear. And who can defeat the bear? Humans, right? All energy on earth come from the sun. All energy from the earth come from the sun. And the plants receive energy from the sun. And what eat plants? The deer, right? The deer. And what eats deer? Lion. We call this food chain or food web? Food chain. Plants need light energy from the sun. For what kind of process? Photosynthesis. Remember the song? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. If you want to know how a plant grows, it takes water and sunlight and makes cellulose. It's okay, it's from grade 4, right? Which is the process of making food in the plant. So, look at this picture. What can plants get energy from? The sunlight. So we call the process of plants to make food as photosynthesis. The sun is the source of energy on earth. How about the lights in the classroom? Is it energy? Is it the energy for the earth? No, it's different, right? Because the light, the neon light in the classroom has only blue light. But the sunlight has 7 spectrums of light. What are the 7 spectrums of light? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So it's different kind of light. We call plants as, everybody say, producers. Producers. What is the word produce mean? Make. Producers means the one who make. Because they can produce their own food. They need only the energy from the sunlight, right? And then they can make their own food through the process photosynthesis. So, the sun. the sun directly. We call plant as producer because plants can make food by photosynthesis. So if plant is producer, there will be consumer. What are consumers? Consumers are the living things that cannot make their own food. For example, animals and humans. Can animals have photosynthesis process? No. So animals have to eat the plants or sometimes eat another animals, right? So we call plants as producer and animals as consumer. Everybody say producer. Producer. Consumer. Two hands. Producer. Consumer means consume. When you consume something, you take something in your body. But producer, right? They produce the food for others. What are producers? What are producers? Animals or plants? Plants. What are consumers? Animals. So we are consumer or producer? Consumer. Because can we do the photosynthesis by ourselves? No. Many mammals eat mammals. What are mammals? Animals that have milk to feed the babies. Are we mammals? Yes. Are the birds mammals? Birds. No. Many mammals eat only blah blah blah. And we call it herbivores. 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 Herb. Do you know this word herb? What is herb? Plants. It's not just ordinary plants. What kind of plant is herb? We can use it as medicine. Very good. One sticker F. For the first time. Here we go. So, again, what is herb? Herb is a plant that we can use for medicine. But herb can refer to plants, just normal plants here. So, animals Are we herbivores? Are we carnivores? We are both. So we call ourselves omnivores. Omnivores. The next group here is secondary. You circle the word secondary. Secondary. What is the word secondary? Two. The second, right? Two. Write number 2 on the word secondary. So primary means primary means primary means secondary means two. So from plant, how do we call plant? Producer. And after plant, consumer. But there are 2 types of consumer: primary consumer and secondary consumer. Animal that eat only plant we call that eat only plant. What does the word that means plant? What is the word that means plant? Herbivores. And the animal that eats only meat? Carnivores. And the animals that eat meat and plant? Omnivores. A rabbit is a carnivore, omnivore, or herbivores? A rabbit. Herbivore, very good. An eagle. Carnivore. A human. Omnivore. A lion. A squirrel. Herbivores. Okay. When the primary consumer eats plant as their food, the energy in the food will be transferred to the next living thing, but it will be divided by 10. For example, grass. In the grass, there are many kilocalories in the grass. How many here? 10,000 kilocalories. But when the grasshopper eats the grass, how many energy from the grass that the grasshopper will get? 1,000. And when the frog eats the grasshopper, how many kilocalories that the frog will get from the grasshopper? 100. And when the snake eats the frog, how many kilocalories that will snake get? 10. And finally, eagle. When eagle eats snake, it gets only 1 calorie. What does it mean? Because the top of the food chain needs to eat more to get more energy. Because the energy will be divided by pyramid like this. When the secondary consumer eats primary consumer, the energy in the food will be transferred, but it will be less, divided by 10. If the rat eats the grass and the snake eats the rat again, do you think the snake will get the same energy like the rat eats the grass? No. It will be divided by 10. When we write a diagram, we will use an arrow as a spoon. We will use an arrow as a spoon. When we write down a food chain, we will use an arrow as a spoon. Show me your spoon. Bring out your spoon. When you eat this way from the head or from the bottom? From the head, the same as the arrow. The same as the arrow. The head of the spoon is the head of the arrow. The head of the spoon is the head of the arrow. So, when the worm eats plant, the spoon goes to the worm's mouth, not to the plant. The spoon will go to the worm's mouth, not the plant. So how do we read this diagram? Food chain. How do we read it? important to have the same living things. Why? For example, in a rice field, there should be rats, there should be grasshoppers. It shouldn't be like other animals. Why? To keep the nature balance. To keep the nature balance. Take a look. We'll talk more about that. What is this picture? Food chain or food web? Food web. We call it as food web. How do you know that it is food web? There are many food chains in this picture. F, stand up. Tell me one food chain in here. Always start from producer. Where is the producer here? A plant. Then you pick one animal. Fly. Fly. Eats plant. Fish. Eats fly. Giant water bug. Eats fish. And tadpole. And where is that? Really? The decaying plant eats tadpole. Yes. So, in one food chain, it can be only 3 or 4. No, it can be longer than that. Sometimes it can be 10. So, what is the difference between food web and food chain? Food chain is a single path, but food web is more complex. Species, write down the word species. In one food chain, there will be many species of living things. If we cut out one living thing from this picture, what do you think it will happen? It will not balance. How? If we cut out a deer, erase the deer from this picture, what happened? The tiger, the fox, and the animals that eat meat mainly will die shortly because they have lack of food, right? So it is important to keep the nature balance. For example, in this cornfield, it happens a lot in the United States. In the cornfield, sometimes in the harvest season, harvest means when you almost get the corn, and then the army of the grasshoppers come to the field and destroy everything because in that field they use pesticide. What is pesticide? The chemical products that used to kill insects and animals. Not only insects, they kill all animals that in that area. So there are no other animals that eat the grasshopper. So there are no secondary consumer to get the primary consumer out of the food chain. So the grasshopper comes, many comes, but there's no animal to get rid of it. So this cornfield is destroyed by the army of the grasshopper. This man is using a pesticide. Everybody write down the word pesticide. What is pesticide again? Chemical? Not fertilizer? Not really fertilizer. It's for getting rid of other animals, for like bugs or insects. So if we don't use pesticide, what kind of product do we use? If we don't use chemical product, what product do we use? Organic, right? It is biopesticide. Biopesticide. It is the product from nature. Question time. Answer together, okay? We call plants as users because they can produce their food from the sun. Oh, I got it from the sun. Okay, next. Living things that cannot produce the food by themselves, we call consumers. Many mammals eat only plants, we call herbivores. How about carnivores? What do they eat? Meat. Omnivores. Both meat and plant. How do you read this diagram? The plant gets energy from the sun. The deer eats grass. The lion eats a deer. Okay. Okay. What is this? Food web or food chain? Food chain. Food chain. How do you read this food chain? The grass gets energy from the sun. Rabbit eats grass. Eagle eats rabbit. Okay. And next, what is this picture? Food web. How do you know it's a food web? There are many food chains. Now, fill in the blank. What should be the first? The sun. Because the sun gives energy. And what receives energy from the sun? Seaweed. Is seaweed a plant? Yes. Seaweed is a plant. That's why it gets the energy from the sun. And snail eats seaweed. And the last one? Seagull. Seagull eats the snail. Now, match. A rabbit. Herbivores. Pig. Omnivores. And the last one? Carnivores. Why the pig is omnivores? It eats everything that you feed it. That's why Muslim people doesn't eat the pig. Because they believe that it's dirty. Because it eats everything. I saw one movie. Like Chinese dynasty, they want to punish a man, and they put a man in a cage full of pigs, hungry pigs, and the man died because the pig bite him. Yes, the pig eats everything that is fed. Keyword. Page 84. you finish grocery goods. Prepare your food. Finish the food chain. Yes, with your spoon. Who two? You first. Get the spoon. We start from the seaweed. No, this is not correct. You need to make it big one. Yes. Okay, next. Who won? Family. The last one goes to Sunisa. Is this food chain correct? Yes. Let's read. Fish eats seaweed. Octopus eats fish. And shark eats octopus. Okay, now, group word. Group 1, group 2, and group 3. I give you 1 minute to finish the food chain. 1 minute to finish the food chain. Arrange it on your tables. 50 seconds. 40 seconds. Where are the spoon? 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and group 1. Tell me what is your food chain? Cherry. Read it. Elephant eats cherry. Crocodile eats elephant. Very good. Now, group 2.
Donkey eats
Donkey eats apple. Lion eats donkey. Group 3. Go. Monkey eats banana. Monkey. Now, combine the 3 food chains to make food web. 10 seconds. 10. On the floor.
On the floor.
9.
Careful.
7. Don't love your friend. made of the spoon bowl?
เฮ้ยผิดได้ให้ช้อนเยอะแน่เนี่ย
Rule number 1. Don't speak high. 5.
Don't speak high เฮ้ยเอาช้อน
4.
สปูน
3.
ต้องกินทุกอันเลยอ่ะปีกช้อนผู้ช้อนคุณจบก็ได้
2. Come on. There can be more arrows.
มีอีกไหมเอาไหมมันหาได้
ส่งช้อน
บอย
ช้อนมาให้หมดเลยแล้วมันก็กัด
ของใครบ้างวะเนี่ย
มีอีกไหม
Finish?
don't have
Okay, let's see. Back off.
โทนิโก
So how do we read this food web? So who are on the top of the food chain? What animal can be the top of the food chain? Can be tiger, lion, and crocodile. Who are the producers? Who are the omnivores? And omnivores. Omnivores. What are omnivores?
it's plant and
Plants and meat. Do we have any omnivores here? No. So we how about carnivores?
tiger and crocodile
Lion and crocodile. What are the consumers in this food chain? Monkey, donkey, elephant, crocodile, lion, and tiger. Very good. Clear it up in 10 seconds. 10, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, pass the book to this side. Put that put it in the shelf. And line up, boys, girls. Boys, sit down. Producers are what are the living things that can make food? Plants. Omnivores. What are they? Oh, human. What else? Pig. Turtle. Yes, turtle also. Carnivores. Lion. So what do they eat? What do they eat? Meat. And the last one, herbivores. They eat only plants. Example of herbivores. Cow, rabbit, giraffe. What is population? A group of animals that live in one place in a specific time. Community. A group of population. Habitat. A place that living things live. Mr. Song finish? Good. start the prayer? I think we're finished. Okay, let's go. Stand up, please.